Hello, everybody. Welcome to AP Lazer Workshop today. I know it's been a long time since we've all gotten together. We've had a, between our LaserCon event and trying to get our equipment back here, I appreciate everybody being patient. I know we had some issues last week, but we're kind of pushing on today. So what we're going to be kind of working with today is we're going to be working through Lightburn, and we're going to be working with our 1812. And we're going to be covering a process called stitching. We did a video before on our larger machine on how to stitch an actual photograph. So today what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be using a vector image, and we're going to be stitching this in order to cut it out. Now, part of the process of why we would do something as far as stitching goes is if we have an image that's larger than our working area. For example, our 1812 is a smaller little footprint there. So if we're wanting to extend something out, how would we go about doing that? So I've got a nice image here. We'll jump over to the computer and we'll take a look at our image. And so nothing too fantastic, just a little JPEG that I picked up, some Nintendo icons here. So we're going to go ahead and minimize that, and we're going to jump right into Lightburn here. Now, like I said, what I'm working with today is a piece of acrylic that I've got here. So I've already got this measured out. I kind of marked in a center line to help me keep straight. So the first thing that's important with doing stitching is to actually measure out your material, and we're going to draw a box to represent this material here. So I'm going to come back to Lightburn here, and I'm going to come over to the left-hand side toolbar and grab my rectangle tool. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a shape here. And then up at the top left right here is where I'm going to adjust my sizes. I'm going to go ahead and unlock my ratio. And what we're working with is going to be 11 inches wide and about 23 inches tall. So there's our box there. I'm going to go ahead and just grab my pick tool here, and I'm going to slide it off to the side. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in my image. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to File and Import. And find my PNG file here. I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. And then what I want to do is actually want to take this PNG and vectorize it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my image. I'm going to right-click it and come down here to Trace Image. This is going to bring this up in my Trace dialog box, and you can kind of see this pink line going around here showing me where my trace is going to be. Now, if we need to adjust this at all, what we can do is come down here to this threshold, and we can adjust this up and down, and we can kind of see how that line's moving around there. So I'm going to go back to my 128 threshold. Just about in there. There we go. And then I've got this button down here below, Delete Image After Tracing. I'm going to make sure that that's turned on, because what that's actually going to do is it's going to go ahead and delete that PNG file and just leave me my trace. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And then there's our image there. So I'm going to bring it over to my box that I've created here. And I'm going to just size him up. I want to make sure that I'm going to leave room on both edges here. Because what we're going to actually do is create some crosshairs to kind of make sure that we're staying straight after we do our initial cut here. So maybe stretch this out just a tad bit there. All right. Now, what I want to do next is I want to make sure that my image is centered in with my box. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that everything is selected here. And then up at the top here are my Align and Distribute tools. So I'm going to center it vertically in the center, just like so. And then now my horizontal, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to set this up for the line to the top. to bring it up. That is going to give me a little bit of extra room down here, but this is going to help when we set up for our origin point. And will make a little bit more sense once we get to that point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click off away from my image, and I'm going to select my image again, and I just want to bring it down away from this edge here. Just like so. Again, just kind of give us a little bit of breathing room there. All right. Go ahead, select everything, and just kind of bring it back over to my working area here. So now what we want to do is we actually want to create a separate box that's going to represent kind of our cut line here. So what I'm going to do is, again, come over here to my left-hand side toolbar. I'm going to grab my rectangle tool and go ahead and draw a shape here. So this shape I'm actually going to make 11 inches wide and 11.5 tall. And I'm going to do the same thing. I want to make sure that that's lining up with this one here. So with my new rectangle that I've drawn here, I'm going to come down to my bottom color bar and I'm going to go ahead and assign that a new color. I'm going to go ahead and hold my shift key, and then I'm going to select my other rectangle here. Actually, I'm going to select everything. So I'm going to hold my shift key, and let's get away from drawing a box here. All right, so we're going to select our box. I'm going to hold my shift key, select my images here, and then I'm going to go ahead and again align, center, and then align to the top like so. Now you can see it did move my image up a little bit more, so I'm going to select my image and then just arrow down just slightly. Just like so. All right. The next thing I want to do is I want to add in some crosshairs. So I'm going to create some crosshairs, and we're going to kind of put this onto the side here. And again, what that's going to do, that's going to help us line this back up after we cut the first part and slide through. So I'm going to come back over to my left-hand side toolbar, and I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. Now, if I hold my shift key down and my left mouse key and draw, that's going to help maintain that I'm getting a perfectly round circle there. Oop, I let go a little too soon. That's okay. So if we just kind of draw a circle like so, we can again come up to the top here and adjust our width and our height. I don't need anything too big, so I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch. All right. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit more. And now what I want to do is I'm going to come right below my pick tool to my draw lines. I'm going to come back to my circle here. I'm going to click, drag that line down, click one more time, and then I'm going to right click to leave that line there. I'm going to come over to the other side and do the same thing. Oop. There we go. I'm then going to come up, grab my pick tool again, and I'm going to select my crosshairs, and I'm going to group those together. So I'm going to come up to my top menu bar, to my grouping, select that. And then while I've got this selected, I'm going to go ahead and assign that yet another color. So we'll go ahead and use green. So we're going to move my image up here just a tad. I stretched it out a little bit. And I'm just trying to simplify this. This is why I'm kind of shrinking it up a little bit. Because I have a natural line that's coming right through here where my box is at. And that's, again, just going to kind of help me line things up a little bit more. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select my crosshairs. And I'm going to bring it right down. Now what's nice is that with Lightburn, it will automatically snap this to the edge for you, and you can see it going right to that line. So I'm just going to move in away from my edge here, and then I'm going to hit Control C, then Control V to copy that crosshair. And I'm going to move that over onto the other side here. All right, zoom in and bring that over just a little bit there. Make sure we're kind of staying out away from our image there. All right. So now that we've got that laid out there, what we actually want to do now is cut out our image. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and select this outside box, that first one we drew, and I'm going to assign that a layer 2. And a lot of these boxes that we're drawing are going to kind of go away. We're kind of using them more or less of guidelines. So the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and select my image. I'm going to hold the Shift key, zoom in a little bit closer, and select my blue box that I just drew. I'm going to go ahead and go all the way up to Tools, and then down to Cut Shapes. As you can see now that my bottom one is selected, but nothing on the top. And so if I move that away, we can see where that has separated that at. So I'm going to go ahead and undo. All right. We're going to go ahead and select the top part. Actually, we're going to select the bottom part here next. And I'm just going to delete that. All right. So now that that's deleted, I'm going to select this image, and I'm actually going to save it. So I'm going to go up to File, Save As, and we're going to call this our top stitch. All right. Now that I'm back here, I'm going to click on my Undo button to bring back my bottom part, and I'm going to do the same thing, only this time I'm going to select my top. I'm going to delete that, select everything here, and save as again, and we'll call this one our bottom stitch. All right. So now that we've got both those done, I'm going to back up, actually just select my bottom part, delete that. Go ahead and select my entire image, and I'm going to bring down where we're going to be cutting, and I want that to be within inside my working area here. So what we have so far is we have our green layer here. That's going to be our crosshairs. So I'm going to, it looks like some pretty good settings. Basically, I'm going to run a cut on these crosshairs, but I don't want them to go all the way through. I just kind of want it to score it. So I'm going to use a 1 speed, 10 power. Our red box here, I'm going to move down a layer. And I've got the power set to 0 just to be on safety, but we're actually going to just turn that output off because we don't actually want to do anything with that. And then we've got our inside that we're going to be cutting out. Now, when you're running a cut file like this, you want to make sure that you're cutting out the inside sections first before you cut out the outside sections. If you cut out the outside section first and it falls through, that can mess up your cut on the inside. Prime example of, let's look at the letter B. We would want to cut out the inside of that B first before we go out and cut the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the images that I want cut out first. So I've got this selected. I'm going to go up and ungroup everything so I can select each one of these lines here. I'm going to go ahead and assign that, let's say, a blue layer. Now, if I've got numerous things in here that I want to cut out, I don't want to go through and have to select each individual one and then come down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one. I'm going to hold my shift key, and that's going to allow me to select the other ones. And then we can turn them blue just like that. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this back up, and I want to make sure that that's above my black layer here. So the order of operation right now is it's going to cut out this green crosshairs, come through, cut out our inside shape, and then come through and cut out our outside shape. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and load up our material, get everything downloaded here. But I want it to first just cut my crosshairs here. So I'm going to turn off my other layers here, just leave my line on, and then I'm going to go ahead and send that to the machine. All right. So now let's go ahead and load up our material here. Now, if you're working with the 1812 here, and you've got the honeycomb, you want to make sure that the honeycomb are facing, the handles are facing in and out. What this is going to do, this is going to help support our piece as we pass it through. So as you can see, I've got my honeycomb sitting on top of my mechanical lift cart, and I've got it pushed pretty much all the way in. So when you're doing this as well, make sure to come underneath the crossbar, not above the crossbar here. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this in. Move things around a little bit. And as you can see, I kind of drew a quick kind of center line. Again, this is just going to kind of help me make sure that everything is lining up correctly. Now, before we start with this too, I want to make sure that, throw out a little bit of caution here. You want to make sure that your alignment and your red dot are pretty spot on. Because we're going to be using that red dot to try to line back up, it's imperative that it's hitting exactly where that beam is sitting at. Also want to point out that this process can be a little tricky. And even people like myself who have been doing this for years occasionally mess this up. Actually, I mess it up probably a lot more than I do it correctly the first time around. So we're going to try to do this correctly the first time around, though. So let's go ahead and take our focus. I'm going to go ahead and raise up my cart. Now, also make sure that we're not pinching that acrylic underneath this bar here as well. So you can see on the inside here that I'm just a little bit out of focus here. So I'm going to go ahead and lower my extension tube down just a smidge here. Okay, we look good there. I'd move this back up a little bit. A little out of focus there, so I'm going to raise up my front side. I'm going to go ahead, slide that to the back, double check that real quick. Lower just a little bit in the back. A little bit more. All right, come back to the front. And we look good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and make sure that our material is in there straight. So I can use that line that I've drawn there. Shift it over just a smidge. And it is Friday, so we're just going to go ahead and double check that. Make sure I drew a straight line. We all know how we get excited for the weekend and make mistakes. All right, we look nice and straight. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this back up to the top. And we had set our origin for the top center here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit origin, and then we're going to frame out, kind of see where our crosshairs are going to be at. All right. We're going to go ahead and close our lid and real quickly cut our crosshairs. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back over to my computer now that we've cut our crosshairs. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and turn that green layer off. And I'm going to turn my other two layers back on. We'll go ahead and send to the machine. All right. And we'll go ahead and close the lid now, and we'll start our first cut. All right, so that's got a little bit more detail in that front half there. So that's going to take probably about 10 minutes to cut. We are working with the 1812, so it is a little bit lower wattage of machine, so we are running a little bit slower just to make sure that we're cutting through there. So if anybody's got any questions so far about this process, feel free, jump right in here. I say we got Frank here, my good buddy Frank, holding it down in Texas. Now, like I was kind of saying a little bit ago here, you know, this can be a really tricky process. This is not something you want to really rush through, and I always recommend practicing. Some good substrate that's inexpensive to practice this on. Get yourself a large piece of like poster board, okay, and start with cutting out shapes. Cut out shapes, understand how this kind of works. And again, just be patient, take your time. Setting up the top part is a little bit simpler than setting up the bottom part, and we're going to kind of see that here in a minute, of just double checking, running things back and forth there. And Frank, well ahead of the game, already doing things. If none of you guys have met Frank yet, he is one of our great customers down here. He's always floating around on Facebook, willing to help people out. He's a fantastic artist. He's made a lot of progress. He's normally in our classes and always willing to help out. And Frank, you know I always appreciate you, buddy. All right, cutting through. I do want to point out too, anybody that is a new user on here, whenever you are cutting anything, it doesn't matter material, acrylics, paper, whatever, don't ever leave your machine unattended. You can always see I'm right next to my machine. I'm keeping an eye on it and the camera as well. Little things can happen, flare-ups can happen very easily, and you want to be next to your machine just in case that happens. All right, making some pretty good progress now. So just to let you guys know too, I do have a couple new training technicians that are kind of sitting in our class today too. We've got Miss Lindsay Million and Mr. Michael Jackson, who are both phenomenal teammates, and I'm so happy to have them on our team. They're starting to do their own trainings now. They're fantastic people to work with. So if you ever get the chance to talk to them, please shoot them a hi, how you doing, welcome aboard. They're both enjoying themselves so far. At least I hope so. They do have to work with me after all, so we all know how that can go. Oh, that's fantastic. There, Frank. 1/4-inch birch plywood, cutting through with his 1812. That's fabulous. That's great. That's what we like to see. And that was just my camera guy. Nothing broke this time. All right, looks like we're kind of doing the middle here. Going to be getting ready to go on the outside here. Like I said, this first part is relatively simple and easy to set up. I am working on some written instructions to kind of go along with this. I understand everybody kind of learns a little bit differently. Some people like to watch videos. Some people would rather have some written instructions. And some people like to have both of them. So I am working on some written instructions that will be available on our AP Lazer University site for this as well. And if we have any new people on here, I'd love to hear from you, see where you're from. Please feel free to say hello. I promise you we're not all mean. Well, Frank might be. He's a little ornery this time of day, but. All right, looks like we've got our our petals there cut out. Now the spotted part won't have too much detail on it. We're just going to be making a few cuts on that one, so that one should go by a little bit quicker there. A little bit of a flare up there. Yep. So you can kind of see there too, keeping an eye on it there. We do have a little bit of a flare up, nothing to be too concerned with at the moment, but I am watching that, making sure there's no issues there. Maria, you're very welcome. I enjoyed doing these classes. Anybody of you guys were out at LazerCon event, I do want to take a moment and tell everybody how happy I was that everybody came up and told me how much they enjoy my videos. I hope you enjoy them as much as I enjoy making them for everybody. Everybody that came up with all the kind words, even complimenting me on my mess-ups that I occasionally make. It really does truly is a humbling experience, and it meant a lot to me. So I do really appreciate all that. Especially getting again, keep calling Frank out here, but I had a great time down there at LazerCon with Frank. He's been probably one of my #1 supporters on this, and it was so nice to finally meet him, grab a beer with him, and just kind of hang out for a little bit. I see lots of people talking about Owasso, Michigan here. I as well am from Owasso, Michigan. So welcome everybody. All right, we're making our final pass here. All right, Looks like we're done. Now for the hard part. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to start over here at the computer first. So I think I could probably just, actually, I'm going to come through, just undo. Select that top image here. Let's go ahead and delete it. Now, this is where things are going to change a little bit at, okay? So one of the reasons that we typically keep this red box that is a representation of our working area or our material actually is to kind of keep things lined up, all right? Now, even if we have this off, and I've got my origin set for top center here, this green box right here is what's representing my origin point. So you can see, even with that layer off, the machine and the software is still reading that as that is my origin point, okay? So when we're doing this bottom half, it can be a little bit trickier. Now, we can kind of maybe switch this up and start on the bottom here, but I also find by just going ahead and deleting this and dropping that now center mark right here where my lines are going to help, okay? And we can kind of see, remember when we drew these crosshairs, they were right on that line that we cut, which was right here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to turn my green layer off because I don't need to cut those crosshairs again, okay? I'm going to select my inside again. So I'm going to select my image. We're going to ungroup. I'm going to select these ones here. Maybe. There we go. I'm going to go ahead, we'll do a blue again, and blue again. All right. I'm going to reorder, so I'm going to come over to my cut layers here, and I'm going to move that layer up, because again, I want that blue to cut out before the outside shape here. Still have my settings. Move this up just a little bit here. All right, and let's go ahead and send. All right, now comes the fun part. So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and open up our lid here. And now we're going to try to pass this through, okay? So I'm going to slide this up, and I'm going to do my best to kind of stay in that center line that I've drawn. But if we get a little bit off, that's okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and arrow down until about where I get on this line here. Now this is where these crosshairs are going to come into play at, because I'm going to run my laser left and right to make sure that I'm coming right down and connecting onto these 2 points here. So we're a little off there, so I'm going to shift this a little bit. A little bit off there. All right. Look good there. So I'm going to come back over, get to about that center line that I had drawn. Now, if you're having some issues like I am with nudging that over, what you can do is slow that down. So we can hit the speed button here, and I'm going to go over and arrow this down. I'm going to slow this down a little bit. Do it about 51 millimeters per second. And that's going to help with the keying and the framing on it. And I really want this just to be a little bit slower, because we really need to pay attention and watch that red dot. Come on, you little, there we go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and origin it there. And then let's go ahead and frame out. And so you can see I didn't quite connect where I wanted to connect to. So I'm going to make some minor adjustments here. Bring it up just a little bit. I'm going to reorigin and reframe. And again, that's one reason we want that framing speed a little bit slower so we can really watch it and pay attention to where it's going at. All right, I need to come up just a little bit more. Reorigin, we're going to try one more time. All right, now I'm connecting where I would like to. All right, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to lower this, and we're going to go ahead and hit start. Here's where my true test of ability comes from here. All right. So this is going to take, again, it's going to take a few more minutes to kind of run here. I just want to know, if you have any questions about this process at all, please feel free to type in the text box here. I'll be trying to answer anything that I can. And just to let everybody know that may not have light burn, this process is doable, or you are able to do this within Corel Draw as well. And I probably will do another video of doing this in Corel. I had a lot of requests, especially at LazerCon, about doing some more things in Lightburn. And Lightburn just recently came out with a brand new update as well, and has changed a lot of features in here. I find that I really enjoy here. They've updated some things to like their library, their photo processing, the dithering process and things like that, that I've been playing around with that I find very, very interesting. So again, we're going to make some more videos of that as well. To some of the people that weren't able to make it to our LazerCon event, we had a lot of really great speakers there, and a couple of them have actually just agreed to come up here to our Lansing, Michigan facility and co-host a couple of these with us. Chris Alexander, I'm looking at you there, buddy. And these guys are fantastic artists, okay? And they have their own processes that they like to share with people on ways to get some fantastic results. And so we definitely want to bring them on board to see what we can get going for everybody. And it looks like we do have a couple questions here. I have Tara asking if the frame speed works the same way. Absolutely. If you dial that speeding down on the keypad, it helps with the arrowing and the framing. Me personally, when I'm working with my rotary tool, I like to slow that down as well, just to, again, watch that framing a little bit slower, helps prevent you from flinging off a glass or anything. And what's nice about it, it's adjustable, so you can speed it up, lower it down as you need it. Me personally, I normally keep my machine under normal operations around the 180 range, 175. Then that way when I need to slow it down a little bit, I just go over and I drop the one off and leave it at like a 75. So Frank's asking a really good question, and Frank, we're already ahead of you on that one, sir. He's asking about the 2-inch lens. On some of our older, not really even older, 1812 machines, the cones or the extension tubes were a little bit shorter. We are now getting those in a little bit longer, just similar to the one that I've got here. So Frank, shoot me an email and I'll keep you updated when I finally get some of those in stock. I know I have some coming here. All right, we're moving along nicely here. Kind of paying attention. Wait for my laser head to kind of get out the way. It's hiding the spot that I wanted to see if we connected into. Ooh, people, I think we may have done it this time. It's like we're on our final line here. All right, looks like we're finished here. Let's go see what we have here. Alrighty, lower this down a little bit. We got a nice cut off my tape here. Alrighty. And let's take a look at our final result here. All right, there we go. There's our nice little cutout. I have a cousin that loves video games, and especially Nintendo, so I'm pretty sure this is his new Christmas gift here. Hopefully he's not watching. But yeah, that's our stitching process. That went a lot better than our photo stitching process, I'll tell you that much. So we got a few more minutes here, so if anybody's got any questions at all about this process, this video is too going to be available instantaneous, so feel free to go back, rewatch, and we're going to get this on our AP Lazer University site as well. And again, I'll be working on some updated written instructions to go along with this. So we'll leave it open here just for a few more minutes. Again, any questions over this process, any of the other processes that we have, feel free to let me know. As always, I am always available by email too. Feel free to shoot me an email anytime with any questions over any of our videos. You can reach me at Jason, Jason, at aplazer.com. That is laser with a Z. And of course, any one of my technicians are going to be more than happy to help out with this process or again, any of our other processes. So we are only a phone call away for assistance. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So I had somebody asking, they missed the first part. Yes, this is 1/8 inch thick acrylic, cast acrylic that we're working with today. If you've never worked with acrylic before, I do want to point out there are two different types. There's cast and there's extruded. I recommend using the cast acrylic. It's not so much of a potent smell to it, and it engraves and cuts beautifully. If you are working with extruded, you can engrave it. It kind of gives you kind of a grayish, dull look to it, but it does really well for cutting though as well. So, well, I will let everybody get back to their own laser machines and get busy working. For everybody new, I appreciate y'all being here. For all the people that are back, welcome back again. We will be taking a break next week. Unfortunately, I'm going to take a small little vacation just to kind of recoup myself. But after that, I've got some really fun things planned for April, and we're going to be covering a lot. And so I hope you guys all have a wonderful Friday. Have a better weekend. And bye, everybody.